Welcome to PropTech Pulse, the podcast that takes the pulse of prop technology in multifamily. I'm your host, Shelly Robinson, and each week we'll be diving deep into innovations, challenges, and the future of work in property technology and multifamily. From AI-driven property management to blockchain and real estate, we're here to explore how technology is reshaping the way we live, work, and invest in multifamily communities. Whether you're a property manager, a tech entrepreneur, an executive, or even simply curious about the future of living spaces, PropTech Pulse is your weekly dose of insights and inspiration. So let's sync our rhythms and get on with the show. It's time to take the pulse. Welcome to the latest episode of PropTech Pulse. Today, I have a very special guest with me, Stephanie Gubiotti of New Urban Residential. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
So glad you're here today. We've been chatting about doing this for a while, so I'm looking forward to this. So to kind of kick things off, why don't you tell the audience a little bit about what has brought you to this point today in your career and this episode?
Yeah, a lot. So let's see. I'll start. I started as leasing associate. I think I was 18. I'm very young and was like, you know what? I just really want to work, and I love leasing and sales, and so that was a great fit for me. I actually worked at Elford Development for several years, which is how you and I originally crossed paths many moons ago. And from there, I went to Dietz Property Group. I was at Dietz Property Group for 11 years, and I had many roles there, overseeing operations, technology, innovation. Really, technology and PropTech started to become much more relevant during my time at Dietz. So we really got to see some major shifts in the industry, especially during those COVID years. Went from there over to JVM Realty out of Chicago, and then went over to New Urban Residential. So we are just shy of 5,000 units right now. We're a vertically integrated owner-operator organization, and we are kicking off some very exciting things.
That is really exciting to hear, and congratulations on your new role with them. It sounds like in this new role, you're going to be focusing a lot perhaps on transformation.
Oh, yes.
And that's such a pretty word for a lot of change coming, right? And optimization. And sometimes a lot of pain comes with that too.
It does. It does. And there's, a ton of things that happen in change management that you just can't predict. And we can do our best to get ahead of it. And we try to map things out. And, we're certainly, our organization is certainly at a place where we're taking on a significant amount of transformation. We are really evaluating our technology and how we're utilizing it and how our teams are interacting with one another, and how we are utilizing those technologies in general, and thinking about what is the best use case versus trying to just fill and plug holes.
Fill and plug holes. That's great. So that leads me into actually my first set of questions for you. This will fit in nicely. So these are kind of my future in a bottle questions. Ideal state, what do you think are the top 3 things that you see changing in PropTech in the next 5 years, and why?
I can share with you what I hope is going to be changing in the next 5 years. I hope that we reimagine our vendor relationships more as an industry and really collaborate more as an industry about how we work together for one another in service of our residents and the people that we house collectively, because we are partners together. So I would love to see some reimagining there. Would love to see fewer shows in Las Vegas in the future. Would love to go back to, San Diego. We're open to Florida.
Hint, hint. Any of those listening in, planning those.
Anybody listening? I also think that there's going to be something around virtual service to these sites. I think that, for our portfolio specifically, we're a little bit more scattered in portions of our portfolio where we have smaller properties that are a little bit more spread out. And so, kind of reimagining how we're handling some of the staffing there and leveraging technologies to make sure that if we don't physically have somebody at the office, that there's still some sort of a way to interact with those residents and provide them with a really high level of service that isn't necessarily a full-time human sitting in that office. So I think what I hope will happen is just reimagining of how we're leveraging the workforce and then sticking with that specialization mindset of getting people who are really good at doing specific things and then helping them work and stay in their flow state. So technology in that way. And I think that would be really exciting.
That's to me, that's such a market opportunity because there's so many properties across the United States that are smaller and need high level of service. The residents still have needs, but you have to have it make sense financially as well. So to
Right.
me, there's a gold mine of opportunity in prop tech to make that happen so that you can deliver that high value service. I think that
Absolutely. Well, I think yeah, and it goes to show, there's so many, the market's just oversaturated with a lot of prop tech vendors. And I
yes,
think if we were smarter and we collaborated together as an industry more, we would be able to come up with actual solutions together, which is part of why I'm so excited about the work that we're doing at Retsy and really using technology as a force for good and coming together with vendor partners and suppliers as well as us on the owner operator side to really enhance those areas.
I'm so glad you're getting involved with Retsy. Their sessions at NMHC last month were fantastic. So I'm excited. They're going to be a guest on the podcast as well. So excited
Nice.
to talk to Lori and Kevin as well. And that advocacy is also important in bringing
It
everybody
is.
together. So I think that's really important work that you're doing.
Thank you. Certainly, last year we had Advocacy Day.
Mhm.
We went to the Hill. That was fantastic. And I know they'll be doing that again this year. It really does matter because a lot of what we end up with in the prop tech space and in the technology space starts with legislation. It starts with these decisions being made. And again, if we can work together to try to come up with solutions and get laws passed or get restrictions lifted, imagine what we could do together.
Oh, totally. You're so spot on. That leads me into my next question. How do you think your side of the industry, as far as that owner operator side, how do you see work changing? And is PropTech involved in how that work changes as well in the next 5 years?
Yeah, I think there's going to be a ton of change around how work is reimagined. I think the companies that are going to be the most successful in navigating how this happens, though, are the ones that are willing to reimagine how their entire organization is operating. And
Yeah.
that takes a lot. But without true reimagination, I think that the execution doesn't happen successfully. So what I see as happening is having policies, procedures be more clearly defined. I see that as being something that people really need to focus on because that is the root cause of the actual issue is that policies, procedures aren't clear, readily available to people. And I think having those things more readily available, having communications with technology to be able to layer in and really get some of these issues ironed out and having faster customer service, that's really where the value is going to be long term.
You and I have actually both been exposed to Jen Finn at HIO. And I think
Yeah.
that work that she's doing right now, that on demand, 24/7 instant answers to your policies and your procedures, leveraged with AI, it's available now, but I don't think it's being harnessed enough yet in the end.
It's not, and I'm really passionate about HIO, and I typically, I'm very cautious when it comes to prop tech vendors, and I could go on and on about shopping and consideration and all of those things, right? But
Totally.
I when you find something that you know is really special, like I see something really special in that product and specifically Jen. Like, isn't she just amazing?
For her. Be like fast friends, right? You're like
Yeah,
those people that you're like, this person is she's great inside and out.
she is. But it's reimagining how we're doing things. Like I keep saying reimagining, but like it really is because
Great work.
you have to really take a step back and just go like, why am I doing like question, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
And I see that technology being something that can be layered in. But again, it's tackling the issue at the actual root cause instead of plugging in pieces of AI into other areas of business. It's an actual ecosystem evaluation and conversational AI around that. So it's an up and coming thing, but I agree. I think that's going to be an absolute game changer of how businesses are operating and how teams are communicating with one another. I think emails will be less prevalent, and I think we'll see more ticketing type things. Things are becoming tickets.
Right.
Ask for tickets instead of emails so they're not getting lost kind of in there.
Yeah. Real problem resolution in the transaction rather than sometimes a circular, ongoing, unresolved item through email, which is
Yeah.
beautiful.
Or Teams messages. Like if somebody sends me something in Teams, like it's in and out.
Yeah. I also, you and I were kind of chatting before we started as well, and you were talking about kind of leasing, and you started in leasing and your leadership style too. I think about this use case and harnessing those two things together where you have a brand new leasing associate. It's a Saturday, everybody else is out touring. Someone comes in and they're like, I want to break my lease. And that new leasing consultant normally would have to say, let me write this down. I'll have someone get back to you. Now you can text, get the answer, and even how to say it in real time and actually resolve the problem, even if the person's brand new. And to me, that's just such a better experience for everybody,
Yeah,
more efficient as well.
it is. Yeah. I think more and more focus should be on customer experience and employee experience because I think ultimately by improving our employee experience, we are going to improve our customer experience. But having people have access to know what they should be doing and how to do their work is the best.
Yeah.
The
Takes a
best.
lot of fear and anxiety out of being new as well that you have this in your hand.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so
Absolutely. People changing jobs is really scary, and agreeing to start with a new company is really overwhelming. And
mhm.
it's sort of like dating. Like you start at the beginning, you're like, this is not what I thought. And so I think us as an industry putting more of a focus on fact-based solutions that have conversational access for people to be able to understand the data easily is going to be very critical.
That's really insightful. That also kind of leads me into another topic that I know is close to home for actually both of us. And you mentioned like changing jobs and
Yeah.
new careers. And there's a lot of people right now in the industry that are in kind of a industry limbo, job limbo, career decision limbo, months of looking and searching. You and I, we've chatted about this too, and kind of gone through our own personal journeys, and I think engaged even some critical assistance through James Hilliard, who
Yes.
I know we both adore, and he's been very impactful in my life. Is there anything you're doing in your leadership style that you've taken from kind of this transition, or any advice you would give to anyone right now that's out looking? I know it's out. That's a big bucket question, but
Yeah, yeah. So, a couple of things. I think I've not seen as many talented people on the market as I have now.
absolutely.
And some of the most talented people that I know have been sitting for a very long time. And I'm hopeful that things will start to shift very soon. And I think that we're trying to figure out like different places of the industry and where those needs are. And I think because there's so many shifts, businesses are having to make some tough decisions. And that unfortunately results in human impact. And so I think, for the people that I know I've been chatting with and that who might even just be listening, like just keep holding out. It gets better. I know it's tough when you're going through it, but I promise you, once you start your new job, you're going to be so busy. Try to enjoy some downtime if people can do that, even just a few days to just like reset, especially when you're going through something really shocking like that. And I'll
Right.
also say investing in a coach. I really love working with James. It's a yes. It's really great to have somebody who can encourage you and really balance you in those ways and just give an honest gut check or just say, like, hey, you're better than that. Just keep waiting. It's a hard thing to go through.
Oh,
And I think, the decision of, for me, I was like, I'm going to consult. I'm not going to consult. I'm going to consult. I'm not going to consult. And I ended up with this amazing opportunity and position and team after I was doing consulting with them. And so, those things can really happen. And I think people should also reimagine a little bit of their own careers. I think one thing that I would encourage people to do is just keep believing in yourself, because when you're going through change, you have to believe in yourself more than somebody else does. And you have to find that inner critic or that inner voice of what you like, what feels wrong, and then what feels right, what feels aligned to you.
yeah, that's really wise. I had back when I first moved to California and was working with Avalon Bay, I went through something really difficult with a resident situation. And my assistant manager at the time, she came up to me and she's like, "Are you purple?" And I'm like, "What are you talking about? Am I purple?" And she's like, "Are you purple?" And I'm like, "Well, no, I'm not purple." And she's like, "Exactly. So, you go through these things and people are calling you purple, or perhaps you got laid off and that makes you feel or unworthy, or that isn't really who you are. You can't forget the breadth and depth of the experiences that you've had, or that you don't have value just because of that moment in a business cycle or that economic moment that impacted perhaps a layoff or a job change. And such a great time to reflect on who you are and what you want. I had to take a break for a little while, frankly, and actually rediscover a hobby. And to me, that hobby has now brought a lot of joy in my life on top of opportunities to work with great clients. And so
Yeah.
there is light later, but it is definitely a dark moment of the soul in there from time to time.
I think it's isolating. It's an isolating thing to go through. And I know that there's, the one thing that I will say is MSB Resources has been a really great with there is a networking group, Mentor Matchmaker, that Tara Samuels has, and she's with MSB Resources, and they do a lot of really great things that I would encourage people, specifically in multifamily. And what I really like about Tara's group is that that's really what they focus on, and then having that group together. I'll also give a quick shout out to Kelsey Corey. She's doing some amazing things in the recruiting space too. So I think people that are looking, like Kelsey Corey, MSB Resources, probably definitely make sure you're connecting with those two. Kelsey Corey is with Corey Executive Recruiting.
That's a great shout out and good resources. I think, what's been beautiful about our relationships too, and I recommend this for everybody, is get re-involved in, and I hate the word networking, but in connecting.
Yeah.
I've had such a great connection with you and so many other wonderful people in the industry through this process that I wouldn't have been able to. And those resources and connections have actually brought about opportunities as well, and just not feeling so isolated. So, reaching out, even if it's uncomfortable, is really important.
And go to events alone, even if it's really hard and uncomfortable, because you will see people that you know in the industry. I think getting out there, even though it's really hard and uncomfortable, and it's like what do I put on my name badge? And like you have to think about those things that you don't really think about. And so I think that getting out there, though, is the best thing you can do, and continue to be involved in the industry. Get involved with your local apartment association. I think that's always fantastic.
Oh, yes.
Um, any of those things can be really, really helpful.
Great advice. Let's switch gears a little bit and kind of talk about your new role at New Urban Residential and this transformation, reimagining, what are some of the biggest challenges and opportunities that you're seeing right now in this new role for you?
Yeah. So, I just love what I'm doing. I have such a fantastic team. It's been so great. We are an owner operator. We have our corporate office based out of New York City. We also have offices in North Carolina and Kansas City. So we have properties Midwest, Southeast, and we are currently preparing the base of our business so that we can make sure that we're ready to launch and grow. We have some really strong growth goals and ambitions, and we know that I like to overcome a challenge. So I want to certainly set goals and then push past those a little bit. So we are currently setting up a lot of our processes and how our infrastructure is really set up, getting these things created for the future of our business and the future of our organization, and setting up, contracts, contract management, all of these different things that, come into play when we're really expanding. And so I'm super excited because we have a really strong group in place that can do some really incredible things. We just posted a position. By the time this airs, it may be filled, but we have currently an assistant controller position available based out of our New York City office as well. It's preferred that they're based out of New York for that role.
That seems like a hands-on in-office position.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. But we are, our goal is to get to 15,000 units, 5-ish years. We want to make sure that we're growing at a pace that's sustainable and that we're really doing the things now to set our technologies up for the future and getting ourselves in a really strong spot so that we can think creatively about how we're handling the customer experience. How do we maximize that? How do we maximize our employee experience? I think coming from the site side, it's something that I am incredibly passionate about,
Oh, yeah.
is having our corporate support teams be in service of the field and having the field teams know that we're there for them and that they have what they need in order to be successful. It's hard working on property. And I
So,
think that there's a lot of leaders that haven't had that experience to understand it.
mhm.
And I think the leaders who really have worked on site and put that time in lead their teams significantly different.
It's really almost an inversion. And so it's understanding that you might want something in 5 minutes, but that property manager may have 10 people waiting outside of her door, right? Rather than demanding that you get it in 5 minutes and you don't care that there's 10 people outside their door. It's kind of flipping that model of understanding that residents and teams are where actually the money comes from too, right? It's the
Yeah,
reason the company exists and can make money.
exactly.
Is there anything you're uncovering that you would want to give advice to prop tech companies right now? Any problems? Any like, hey, I wish prop tech companies would really make X better or advice?
I, yeah, there's a lot. Where do I start?
This is so
I wish that prop tech companies would really consider, before going to market, fully testing their product and making sure things fully work before selling owner operators things that cannot function in the way that their salespeople tell them. So I think really making sure that they're going in, doing their product development, going slow. I think there's too many people spending too much money on marketing and not enough on business development.
it's so true. And I'm trying to remember the founder's name, but every time he does something new, he goes out. I think he's actually touring right now in a bus right now, properties to really make sure that it has product market fit. And I'm like, that is
Yeah,
smart.
it is. It is. But I think those are the leaders in the space, and I love hearing about prop tech and innovative ideas. I think it is so exciting. It's just make sure you're ready before you go in and make sure you actually have a really good value add proposition. There's a lot of value add propositions that actually aren't true value add propositions.
Mm-hmm.
So I think really evaluating that too. And I think companies bringing in strategic advisors, being smart about who they're talking to, and really learning and understanding the industry before putting it client facing, because especially when it comes to being client facing, then if it's customer facing or employee facing, even worse when things go wrong.
Totally.
Even worse. And when we're implementing technologies that are customer facing, we have to make sure that we're vetting those things fully. So, there's a lot of great players in the industry, and I'm excited about the volume with the changes that have happened. I'm excited to see where some of these really strong players in this space have landed or are going to land. So I think that's going to be really critical too, is like, consider your hires. There's a lot of great talent on the market in the multifamily space. If I were running a prop tech company, I'd be really looking at who's on the market and trying to get people to move over from the owner operator side to the vendor side to be solving a lot of their problems.
It's how I got into the prop tech side, coming from the owner operator side. That deep understanding of the industry and how it ticks, especially coming from the site level, is a powerful punch. And a lot of times prop tech companies now, and I've seen this a lot, they'll come into the market from like Google or Meta or a really high end Silicon Valley background, and they'll lead with that. And I think that falls flat in the industry when you don't first lead with trust of that deep industry experience and then back it up with your world class, tech background.
My favorite is when they tell me that there's zero implementation required. It's just flip of a switch.
Never. Just be
Easy.
honest. Yeah, just be honest.
Just tell like they don't understand the change management side of it.
They do not. They do not. Goes back to having case studies, and I think a lot of owner operators are asking for the proof in the pudding and the proof in the pudding of the implementation lift. It's really critical to understand what that looks like. And the implementation lift is different if it's an owner cascading operators, that is third party. It's different. Like there's all these different use cases depending on the customer type as well. That's
But I think
important.
as an industry, it goes back to like really reimagining how we're doing things. And I think, again, this kind of plays into the conversation with Retsy too, of,
Mhm.
us aligning together and trying to come up with ideas and ways to reinvent the industry. I mean, I look at, for example, the stuff. Have you seen what Karen Mayo's doing over at Get 100?
Yeah, I had them.
It's fantastic. And I think like, but if we can stop for a second and just reimagine, like, oh, okay, we don't take an apartment off the market until the person is applied and is qualified. Like, it's a different workflow and process. But, I think about the way as an industry that we house people in general. And I think that if we can think about how to make the barrier for applying and finding housing a little bit more easy
Simpler.
and simpler, something, there's the MLS when you go to buy a house, right? There's nothing like that in multifamily, but why? And I think that we haven't asked enough of those questions of like, well, but why? And I think simplifying the way, and especially, I worked in affordable for several years, like as an owner operator in the affordable space, they're paying for marketing dollars and they're paying for leads, but they can't say in there, like there's rules and restrictions, right? But if we had a different platform to do something like this within, we would be able to tell people what, based off their income, they could qualify for. That helps the affordable housing spaces. That helps save owner operators money too, and it helps people find housing that is desperately needed.
It's so true. It kind of goes back to, and I'll compare it with homes for sale. Like you have real-time availability on realtor.com, but then you've got these other ILSs where it's not real time. And I think our industry, most of what you're seeing, unless you're able to drill into the actual property online leasing website, is there's not real-time availability. And that fits all the verticals: affordable, campus, market. There's definitely an opportunity there. Yeah, I love that. Okay, couple last questions while we're wrapping up today. Is there one prop tech tool that you and your teams can't live without,
Can't live without.
or you love it right now?
Ooh.
I think about all the opportunity in the pause alone, you know?
No, no, I want to give this a thoughtful answer. There's a lot of things that I think go right, but I think in my role, I tend to hear less at the moment about the things that are going right and a
Yeah.
little bit more on what's
Yeah.
going wrong sometimes. So it's giving me pause because I'm like, okay, what is going really well? We launched Opinion across our whole portfolio for resident reviews. And for prospect reviews, that's been going really well, and they have a really nice review response component. It plays into our focus as an organization of, enhancing that customer experience and our employee experience too. And so by getting that real-time review feedback, I think that's been really helpful. And I mentioned the team at Get 100. I really love that product in general. I think it's a game changer. And we already chatted about Hio too, like that. Something else that I think is fantastic. We're still in the middle of building out a lot of our technology, and I think once we have those things together, it'll play a little bit differently. But maybe in 6 months from now, we'll circle up to see what other right things. There's a lot of implementations that our team is doing. Um, our team right now, we're really picking what's the most highest, best use of our time and what are we focusing on for that implementation.
Love to have you back once the transformation is done and
Yeah.
really talk about kind of what the lessons learned were from it, what you think best in class looks like now, and just updates on your journey as well as your career journey.
I would love that. Thank you.
And then any announcements or anything before we wrap up today that you want to share?
Oh gosh. I've shared kind of the future of the organization, and we're currently hiring for an assistant controller position, but that may be filled by the time this episode airs. I
Totally.
hope. So we are excited about the things that are happening in 2025. I'm still planning out some of my conference season. I will be at the RETC Data and AI Summit in Dallas. That's coming up. And so I'll be there. And I know for sure I'll be at OpTech this year.
And then you and I are putting together a white paper as well, and we'll
We
have
are.
this available 3 days after the episode launches as a free download as well. So everyone stay tuned for that. So Stephanie, thank you for joining today. Thanks for your
Of
time,
course.
sharing so candidly about your journey, and congratulations again on your new role.
Thank you, Shelley.
And that wraps up another episode of PropTech Pulse. I hope this conversation has given you valuable insights and perhaps even sparked some ideas for your own PropTech journey. Remember, the future of multifamily is being written right now with every technological advance and innovative solution. So stay curious, stay connected, and keep your finger on the pulse of PropTech. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to PropTech Pulse on your favorite podcast platform and share this along with your colleagues. You can also find us on social media for bite-sized insights and updates. I'm Shelley Robinson, and until next time, let's keep innovating, disrupting, and keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible in PropTech and multifamily. Let's build it together.